Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19 Cousins, Indiana Fever fans. We're going to talk about Coach Christie Sides. Yes, the reigning coach of the month in the WNBA, who apparently received Coach of the Month because Caitlin Clark received Player of the Month, and Kelsey Mitchell could have easily received Player of the Month. This coach has not changed, and that is a real concern going forward. The Fever record, the role that they have been on, has been despite their coach. And when they run into a buzzsaw like the Minnesota Lynx and the pure talent of players like Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell in bailing them out offensively time and time again, is not going to be enough. I want to talk about her press conference after the game last night and a few other things she said. But first, I just want to play a short clip from the game before against the Sparks. I played some of this last night. I'm not going to play everything I played in the last video, but I want to play the very beginning of this because it sets up what she then said after the Lynx game, which is a big concern if you're a fan of the Indiana Fever. Let's check this out.
All right, questions in the room for Coach. James, want to start?
Chrissy, obviously it's a win. I would imagine you want to perform better. So what do you take away from finding a way to win, which matters the most, but also looking at some things that you have to improve on?
Yeah, no question. When I went in and told the players, I told them if we could get 50 points in the paint, we'd win the game. We ended up with, I think, 46. But we weren't doing that early. We were playing almost 5 out, and we just weren't getting the ball in the paint, which is what frees up our outside.
Okay, none of that's true. In fact, as I mentioned in the last night video, after I heard that, and I was just so disconnected from what I had just witnessed, that I went back and rewatched the first quarter of that Sparks game, and I tracked. And the Fever had 23 possessions in that first quarter. They were very sloppy. We know they did start out sloppy. They had 8 turnovers on those 23 possessions. It got better as the game went on, which is why they won, because you can't turn the ball over a third of the time. Now, that leaves 15 possessions remaining. On 12 of them, they had what I would call post-ups, where we're getting the ball inside with a player like Boston or Smith back to the basket, or layups, which again can include the bigs, but it can also include, say, Kelsey Mitchell penetrating off the dribble, where she can look for a big, but she can also take it all the way to the basket herself. And a lot of these successful layups, buckets in the paint, were from Mitchell or Clark simply making things happen. And a number of the pure post-ups usually resulted in missed shots or kickouts or turnovers. A number of the turnovers were forcing it into the paint. So there's a real disconnect here in what Christie Sides is saying and what actually happened. So I want to dig into some things that she said last night after the Lynx loss.
But defensively, we've just been much better since the break. And, we gave up 80 points in 3 quarters. You don't give yourself a chance. And a lot of it, we just were watching a few clips. A lot of it was us. We weren't where we were supposed to be, just in like a 5-man shell. Like we weren't at the nail. We weren't in 2-9. We weren't in help. We weren't in gaps. We let them get by us and with dribble penetration too much. Our goal is to contest every single shot. We didn't get out on our closeouts and contest. And they're a great shooting team.
Okay, wow, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, again, with this tendency to throw the team under the bus, because it sounds like she's saying that they don't know what they're doing. We didn't do this. We were supposed to, when the ball goes here, the team needs to do this and they didn't do it. The team needs to do this and they didn't do it. The only thing I might give her is stopping penetration if you're playing 1v1 defense, which is an individual thing. I don't know that there was a whole lot of that. She talked about wanting to contest every shot. You can't play the defense that the Fever plays and the style they play and contest every shot. Minnesota's a good shooting team, but you're also terrible against good shooting teams. Or maybe I should even rephrase that. You make good shooting teams even better. It's absolutely crazy, again, with throwing the team under the bus. And I want to dig in. There's another part a little later. There was some we could skip, but this is really important too. Let's dig into this, and then we'll see how this is going to affect the team going forward.
From your viewpoint on the sidelines, were you just actively wanting to change that? Was it maybe just realizing a little?
Oh, the beginning of that question, sorry, there was some noise. You couldn't really hear it well. The question is asked about their struggles offensively. He says with the pick and roll. I didn't necessarily see that, but that is the question. And, why didn't they change it sooner, basically?
A little bit too late that you needed to change something? What was kind of the game plan there?
No, I think there were some times probably when we go back and watch, we probably needed to execute something that was a little longer. We are second or first in the league in points in the paint, or I think third or fourth, but we tied Minnesota, who isn't very good at points in the paint. I think they're maybe 11 or 12. And so.
Okay, before she digs in any sooner, I think it's important for people to understand that points in the paint is exactly that. It's points in the paint, where Christie Sides is obsessed with running we're going to walk in quicksand, we're going to play a 40-year-ago fourth grade offense. But points in the paint can be early in that first half when they made a steal and Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell ran full sprint together side by side at the Lynx defense in a 2-on-1 and got the layup in the and one when Caitlin Clark made that nice pass to Kelsey Mitchell as they went down the court together. That's points in the paint. Those are the points in the paint that the Indiana Fever need.
We have to take advantage of where we have the advantage. And I think there were times where we needed.
Sorry. But again, take advantage of where we have the advantage. You have that advantage in points in the paint when you run. That's how you get points in the paint for the Indiana Fever. That's why you have the advantage there. It's not to slow the game down.
To just come down, execute, get a paint touch, and then play out of that. And we were.
Oh, sorry. I'm clicky happy, but I can't with this woman right now. Get down, get touches in the paint. You are not built that way as a team. Basketball is not built that way right now. It's a completely different game. Oh my gosh, this offense is driving me. This focus on the half court and touches in the paint, all it does is it comes down to Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell have been so ridiculously good, so over the top good since the break that we're simply relying on that. We get down, we have no effective offense to run in the half court, and we want Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell to then bail the team out.
We're taking some early shots that didn't go our way, and then long shots end up being long rebounds, which is hard to get back in transition defense.
Okay, couple of those things. You are a team that needs to get shots early in the shot clock. Has everyone forgotten how bad this team has been in half court, how often they go down to where the shot clock's running out and then they get a crap shot or they don't even get a shot at all because they have no idea what they're doing and they don't have an offense that they run in a half court that is effective? By the way, yes, long rebounds can make it tough to get back in transition. However, long rebounds off of long shots are also why you see more offensive rebounds, because those long rebounds are more difficult for a defense to do what it needs to do in terms of finding a body and boxing out, because those long rebounds go back to the open guards on the perimeter for the offense that can run them down.
Chloe, then James.
Yeah, Caitlin talked about a play in the fourth quarter where you guys were down one, and then she tried to bounce the ball, I believe it was to Temi, and it was intercepted pretty easily, and how she thought that was a bad read. Just how do you try to coach her through that and the kind of if she wants to take that shot herself.
Yeah, I mean, she came right to the bench and talked about it, that it was a bad pass, bad decision. I mean, we just have to make sure we take care of that basketball in those moments. Like, we have to get a good shot, have some good execution, and give ourselves a chance. That I think that was even like with 16 seconds on the shot clock. So, we didn't even use up any clock when we'd cut it to 1. But I mean, she knows, and she will learn from it. She's been learning from those kind of things. And we just got to move forward and not make those same mistakes.
Okay. Wow. First of all, that play that they're talking about was absolutely terrible by Caitlin Clark, that decision. If you're not remember this, Caitlin Clark made a great defensive play, blocking a steal, and then it was a fast break. And she should have taken the ball all the way to the bucket and instead she tried to throw a pass to Fag Bentley that was just absolutely never in a million years going to get there. That being said, I think part of the reasoning for trying to make that pass is all the nonsense that has gone on all season long with trying to take away Caitlin Clark's offense and limiting her shots. One of the reasons that the Fever have been better lately, and I'll show you real quick here. Look at these last 5 games. 4-1 in the last 5. And obviously this goes to even before the break, but shots 17, 14, 19, 17, 21. Points 19, 31, 28, 24, 25. She's now up to 14.2 shots a game. For a lot of the season, it was around 11 or 12. For those of you that have been around for a while, first, thank you. Second, if you go all the way back to early in the season, there were multiple videos where I went after Christie Sides because she was discouraging Caitlin Clark from shooting. And I said she needs to shoot 20 times a game, 18, 20, 22 times per game for this team to win. And guess what she's been doing since the break, folks? She's been shooting 18, 20 times per game. That is the difference offensively. The other thing I want to mention is Christie Sides mentioned here was how early in the shot clock. Okay, first of all, it was a fast break. Second of all, I don't care about the shot clock. Anybody familiar with the Phoenix Suns led by Steve Nash, which I've seen a lot more and more people comparing Caitlin Clark to Steve Nash during his MVP years? This team is built to shoot in the shot clock early. Look, I get there are times when you have to run a half-court offense. I get that there are times where it makes sense to take time off the clock. But as a general rule, with this team, they are better early in the shot clock. And the buckets that they do get late are usually because of Caitlin Clark off the dribble, creating something for herself and getting to the basket, or then kicking to a teammate. Or Kelsey Mitchell taking a defender off the dribble and creating for herself. But the so-called offense that Christie Sides wants to run is not going to help anybody. Look, individually, the Indiana Fever really aren't that bad defensively. They really aren't. But their defensive scheme, and look, I understand that part of this might be on the players. Maybe they're at times not executing properly, but it doesn't seem like the defensive scheme itself is very good. The defensive scheme itself lends to other teams lighting up the Fever with very easy shots. There are doubles that are happening all the time that are incredibly poor decisions. There are no reasons to make these doubles. We've got doubles on the wing that are absolutely terrible that make it an easy pass out of for an open bucket. We've got doubles that allow baseline drives that the backside help is coming all the way over, and then there's no transition to that winger, and the ball's being kicked, and it's an easy 3. We've got doubles or picks up at the top where Caitlin Clark has easily gone through and she needs to stay on the point guard, and Boston stepping up instead of dropping back like she should, and then Nalissa Smith is having to take the player going into the paint, and then it gets kicked out to Nalissa Smith's player for an open three. Let me show you something. I don't know if you can see this. I couldn't blow it up anymore, so I'm going to let you know. Right now, this is opponents' turnovers. We go all the way down to the bottom of Indiana. They are last in the league in creating turnovers by their opponent. That's not good. What I keep hearing Christie Sides is a defensive coach. She's a defensive specialist. Now, the thing I really, really, really want to point out, opponents' three-point attempts. Next to last, the Indiana Fever. The Mercury give up 26.3, and that makes sense. They're a slow team. The Indiana Fever are not a slow team. They're a young team. They're not a slow team. They should not be allowing so many threes. They give up 25.3 a game. If we switch to opponents' 3 points made, and they're not next to last. They're tied for last. They give up 9.1 made threes a game. No one else is worse. No one else is worse. Opponent 3-point shooting percentage, next to last. The only team worse is the Los Angeles Sparks. The Indiana Fever are giving their opponents 35.9%. So it's not about the Minnesota Lynx being a good shooting team and a good 3-point shooting team. I think they made a bunch in the fourth quarter. It's about really, really bad defense. Yet Christie Sides is supposed to be a defensive coach. I haven't seen any evidence that Christie Sides is a good defensive coach. Like I said, a lot of these Fever double teams are double teams that don't make sense at all. You've got double teams on the wing, not off a pick and roll, just double, where you're doubling the point guard. You're doubling a point guard who's not shooting from out there, and you're just creating wide open opportunities for other players. The Lynx were getting wide open 3-point shots very easily. Look, so much about defense is knowing what you're supposed to do, yes, and then effort. Sure, there are absolutely physical things. There are athletic attributes that are important to playing good defense. Your agility has to be there. You have to have great footwork. You have to understand angles. I get all that, but effort is huge. And if the effort is there within a good system, this team will be good enough. This team does not have to be great defensively because of their offense. That being said, their offense is being limited. Their offense is being limited. It is way too focused on what they do poorly, half court, back to the basket post, touches in the paint. And then we almost magically think Sides has been a good coach because Clark and Mitchell have been absolutely balling out. That is why they've been playing well. And look, folks, we look at this. Minnesota's in the number 2 spot. I think Connecticut has the tiebreak right now. So if they were to be even here, I think Connecticut becomes 2. So it's not really like a full 1-game lead. But the way the two teams have been playing, Connecticut 6-4 in their last 10, Minnesota's 9-1. Most likely Minnesota's going to be 2. Indiana only has a 1-game lead on the Phoenix Mercury. Now, they do have the tiebreaker. However, they have some tough games coming up. They've got the Aces twice. They can't play like this against the Aces. If they slip to that 7th spot, they're most likely going to play the Minnesota Lynx in the first round. I think was there something else? Let me just double check.
Last two, James and Jacob.
Chris, you talked about Fee before the game in the third quarter in particular. What did you see from her that was making it so difficult to just contain some of the things she was doing?
Yeah, she went to the 3. and she was trying to post us up, which was tough. And Lexie was in foul trouble a little bit, so she was trying not to be as physical. But you just can't play that way with her. And so we were trying to make some adjustments and get a big on her down there. But I mean, when you have the ability to move someone like Fee to play the 3 and then play the 4 according to who's guarding them to get the advantage, I mean, that's just tough. And that just, as the defense, you've got to recognize those things early. And we're not there yet at recognizing those things early enough and making our adjustments.
That is coaching. That is 100% coaching. Are you telling me that you don't know that Nafisa Collier might play the 3, that she might post up? You don't know that that's part of her game? You don't have film on the Minnesota Lynx? You don't coach this in practice? You don't go over this in a film session and let your teams know? I don't even know what to do with this. And it's taking you that long to adjust, and you're saying the players don't recognize it? What about the coaching? Lex is in foul trouble. You don't want her to, she's not playing that aggressively on that, then maybe make a switch. I get sometimes there are tough matchups, but you know this team. These are not surprises. You know what the Lynx bring. You know who they have. You know what they can do, and you don't prepare for this. If they out-execute you, that's one thing. If they outperform you, that is one thing. But you're telling me that you weren't ready for it and that you tried to make adjustments and that the players didn't recognize it. There's no excuse for that. There is no excuse at all for that. Look, this team can still go far. And like I said, they don't have to play great defense. It just has to be good. They've got to contest more shots. They've got to make it more difficult for teams to take easy shots. And offensively, they've got to play more up-tempo. Even if it's not balls to the wall, 100 miles an hour every time, it needs to be a little more up-tempo while the defense is getting back and settled. Make your attempt. They should be shooting a lot more in the first 7 or 8 seconds of the shot clock than in the last 5 seconds of the shot clock. Will they make those adjustments? I don't know. Can Clark and Mitchell overcome the lack of adjustments? They did for quite a stretch. I don't know how much longer they can do that, but that's going to be the key because I'm not seeing it from Christie Sides that she is going to make the right adjustments as a coach. This long into the season, she's saying the same stuff she was saying earlier. She hasn't changed. That is not good for the Indiana Fever. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It really is huge, and I do appreciate it, and I will talk to you later.